for three. Bang! Thompson has been on fire. Are you kidding me?
I just went to that moment. I told you I'm staying in the now. I just kind of went there.
Get ready for me.
This is true.
Hell yeah.
He went there, I went there. That was like, I can feel it. We're getting closer to the return of Klay Thompson. You know how long it's been since he has played in an NBA game?
936 days.
It's been 936 days. So, Richard, 936 days. How soon do you think
I saw it in the
be?
prompter, people. I'm sorry.
No, do not give him that much credit.
I'm being a jerk.
But how long do you think it will be until Klay looks like Klay?
I think there's two Klays, right? I think there is one Klay that will be highly efficient for this team and can help them win a championship. Maybe 17, 18, 20 a night, just because it takes a while for your body. I think you have to wait till next season before Klay can return to that level of form. He's missed 2 years of basketball. There's fatigue, or 2.5. There's strength.
936 days.
To be exact. There's so much stuff that goes into that I think he will be a highly efficient player for them. He'll have some droughts, but I think next year is when we see him. But this year, he can give them a lift to win a championship.
I mean, everything Richard said is right. Luckily for Klay, his game isn't predicated upon athletic ability. He's a pure knockdown shooter. I think where he's going to take a little bit of time is obviously his lateral movement. Klay was one of the best on-ball defenders and one of the most underrated defenders in the NBA. If you look back, he was always guarding the best player. So I think it's going to take a little bit of time for that. But shooting the ball is like riding a bike for him and Steph. You know what I mean? So to me, it's more about his cardio, staying away from those nagging injuries. Whenever you come back from major injuries, you get nagging injuries, quads, hamstrings, that kind of stuff. So hopefully he can stay away from those. And to me, his game's going to continue to improve as his cardio and stamina gets better because he's been out for a long time.
Well, and we saw him knock down 24 straight threes like it was nothing the other day. And then Mark Spears tweeted that for what it's worth, he finished his workout that night with a dunk. So he's slowly working.
He's fine.
He's doing all right. And we've heard Draymond Green say, right? He said it on this show. If he can come back and be somewhat of a shell of himself, they're still going to be good. If he can be at 60, at 70, at 80%, then they can be really scary. What do you think of that, Matt?
This team's depth is amazing, and I think that's what's going to help them this year. They found Andrew Wiggins. Everyone, the player that everyone thought Andrew Wiggins was going to be, he's finally arrived in Golden State. And then Jordan Poole, you saw what Jordan Poole did last night. I think he dropped 33, if I'm not mistaken. So Klay coming back, Coach Kerr's going to put him right in the lineup where he should be. He's going to play limited minutes, but again, Klay is who Klay is. It's someone who can plug in, help build this system really from ground. And it'll take him a little while, but Klay is back, and I think the world is a better place when Klay's playing.
100%. Klay is one of those guys that he's universally loved on the court, off the court, just his personality. The game misses him.
Shout out, Klay. We miss you.
We miss you, big fella. And so it's like when I look at Klay Thompson, I look at an individual that is going to fill in every hole that they might need. If you want to talk about like Steph and Dre, they miss him so much. And like Steph is doing everything that he's doing, knowing that he will have like exponentially more space when Klay is there. The amount of plays that they can now run because they have Klay there that will open up shots for everybody else. So there's so many things that are special about him, and we can't wait to see him out there.
We love Klay on the boat, but we love him a little bit more on the court. And you know what else we love? We love Spurs assistant coach Becky Hammon being introduced as the Las Vegas Aces head coach yesterday. So here's what she said about her new gig. Take a listen. Time to go coast to coast, starting with Kyle Kuzma, because he has been on fire, scoring 36 in a win over the Hornets. That's tied for his most in the last 3 seasons. He's averaging 28 points, 11 rebounds over his last 4. So, Richard, what's gotten into him lately?
Well, no, Kyle Kuzma has always been one of those guys that's like, I want to prove to everybody who I am. And now he has an opportunity, a lot more leeway. And I'm sorry, you learn from playing around great players, and he is showing every inch of that right now.
And then, speaking of great players, Joel Embiid, he recorded his 3rd career triple-double as the Sixers blew out the Rockets. This was Embiid's 4th straight 30-point game, tying the longest streak of his career, and he was just named Eastern Conference Player of the Month. So, Matt, is he the best big in the league right now?
Love Embiid, and with all due respect to Jokic, last year's MVP, a healthy Embiid to me is the best big in the league. And if I'm him, I'm getting frustrated because I'm going to that front office and saying, you guys got to do something with Ben because I'm wasting good, healthy years and we're not going nowhere because you haven't made a decision with Ben.
The trade deadline is a-coming, and now we're going to go to the Western Conference Player of the Month. It is Donovan Mitchell. He scored 29 points, including 1 bucket off a very nice ankle breaker to lead the Jazz their 9th straight road win. Do you buy the comparisons to D-Wade, Richard?
Yeah, but, you know, D-Wade, look, the game grows, but he's strong. He does everything, but his jump shot has improved every single year.
Well, and then Matt's favorite team, the Bulls, they won their 8th straight game, the franchise's longest win streak since the middle of 2011-2012. So Chicago remains atop the Eastern Conference. Despite the win, though, DeMar DeRozan, he went on to work on his free throws. That was after the game, after he shot 7 for 13 from the line, so he's never satisfied. And Matt, yesterday, you said that the ceiling you thought for the Bulls was?
To be in the finals.
So, Richard, do you agree that's the ceiling?
I think that is the ceiling, 100%. I can see kind of very similar to how Atlanta had that run. If someone goes down early and you beat one great team,
it's all about playing hot at the right, getting hot at the right time.
Yeah, so I 100% think that the Bulls can make it to a finals. Do I think that they could beat enough teams to win a championship? I think that might be out of their control right now, but I could see that they're building towards something like that.
Well, and they're a team that a lot of folks have been surprised by. I do, guys, want to get to Jimmy Butler, though. He was unable to walk off the court under his own power yesterday after sustaining an apparent injury to his right foot. So the injury occurred with 3 minutes and 14 seconds left in the third, and we're still waiting for an update on his status. But I do want to bring in Zach Lowe for more on Jimmy Butler. So, Zach, Jimmy Butler has already missed 15 games this season. So can the Heat stay afloat if he has to miss a significant amount of time again here?
Malika, I'm starting to believe the Heat could stay afloat playing 4 players instead of 5. It doesn't even matter who's on the floor for them. They just keep on winning games. They're 9-6 without Jimmy Butler. A lot of those games Bam Adebayo missed. He missed about half the season so far. PJ Tucker missed games. Tyler Hero's missed a bunch of games. And when Bam and Jimmy went out, they said, okay, our 2 best paint scorers are gone. Let's bring in Gabe Vincent and Max Strus. Yeah, you heard of them? They're good. They shoot tons of threes. We'll bomb away from 3. They can shapeshift depending on their personnel. Obviously, they need their best players to contend for a championship, which I do still think is the ceiling for this team to win the East, speaking of ceilings. And the word I've gotten so far today is they're pretty optimistic. This is not a serious injury. He can be back after a few games. And can they stay afloat? Yeah, their next few games are pretty tough, but they've shown they can stay afloat pretty much regardless of circumstance.
Optimistic, you're reporting right now that this could not be a significant injury for Jimmy Butler. We're still waiting for a little bit more information. Thank you for that update, Zach. I am curious, though. You mentioned those next 2 games coming up. They're a little bit tough. So even if he has to miss a little bit of time, that shape shifting that they're going to have to do, what type of elasticity are you looking for them specifically coming up here?
Well, a lot of Kyle Lowry and a lot of Tyler Hero, and other than that, it depends on who's getting out of protocols and when. I think Strus is coming back soon. Duncan Robinson maybe follows him, but it just depends on who they have. Omer Yurtseven tweaked something last night. He's been huge for them. No one knows who the big Yurt is, but he's been playing well. They just keep on getting players. Caleb Martin is balling out. They'll just need more from everybody, but naturally when you lose a star, you got to lean more on the stars that you have. And right now, Kyle Lowry and Tyler Hero are their best healthy offensive players. They're going to need, 50 points combined from those guys usually to get W's here.
Well, listen, coming into the season, a whole lot of people were high on the Heat, especially after their season ended the way that it did last year. So we'll see what happens there. But they are a tough and particularly well-coached team. Hey, Zach. We got week for several key players, and that includes Kyrie Irving. And while Kyrie told reporters in Brooklyn recently that the months away when he was away from the team, he was getting run in high school pickup games, Coach Steve Nash said that he's looking, well, just take a listen.
I think Kyrie looks great. He's such a talented and gifted player, and to see him on the floor with our guys has been great. We all look forward to him coming back.
All right, so Coach Nash says that Kyrie looks good in practice, and the Nets need him as they're on a season-high 3-game losing streak. So I want to open it up to my friends, my friend and Richard Jefferson over here. Matt, do you think that this puts more pressure on Kyrie Irving's debut?
Why are you always that guy?
I just have that look on my face.
You didn't even announce your podcast at the beginning.
You disrespect.
I don't think there's any pressure on Kyrie, to be honest with you. This is a team that's championship or bust. They've lost 3 games, and what the fans have to understand right now, these are the dog days of the season. Richard can tell you, after Christmas to All-Star break, young teams will still play hard, and they may make some moves, but teams like Brooklyn, they're just happy to have Kyrie back. Kyrie's happy to be back, and they know it's all about the marathon, not the sprint. So look to this team again to be their best after All-Star break.
No extra pressure?
Look, I think the only pressure on Kyrie is to figure out how he fits in. And I don't mean that it's like when you're sitting out, you're coming back in. That's not normal basketball.
Right.
That was part of the reason why they avoided having him do this. I think Bill Bradley was like the last person to do this for the Knicks in like the 70s or 60s or something, because he was still going to school at Princeton, so that he was playing just the home game. So this is unprecedented. We've never seen it before, and I think that is the pressure on Kyrie. Not can he perform, not will the Nets be better with him, but how do you handle that in and out of the lineup? And you have to make it the adjustment for your teammates.
So the pressure is more longer term. Can you make this work as sort of a part-time player, at least for the foreseeable future?
Well, I think to piggyback off that, what did we only get 9 games with the Big Three last year with this Brooklyn team? You know what I mean? So this is still very new to their core. And the fact that, like Richard said, he has to get acclimated. He has to find out. Hopefully, when he was out, he was watching to see, like most great players do, where he can affect the game at. So I'm sure he's doing that. So again, I think Kyrie will come back. He'll be Kyrie. I think he's going to take him a minute, because I don't care where you're playing, high school, college, you're not going to be able to simulate an NBA game. So I think it's going to take him a minute to get his win back. But again, he's happy to be back, and he's going to have some break days now because he can't play home games, so he won't get overwhelmed with minutes. So look for Kyrie to be Kyrie.
Kyrie to be Kyrie. I do want to bring in JJ Redick on this from New York. JJ, do you think there's any extra pressure here on Kyrie Irving?
No additional pressure, and I don't even think Kyrie would feel any pressure anyways. He's sort of one of one, living in his own world. The reality is there's going to be a massive amount of scrutiny and attention on his return, whether the Nets are on a 10-game winning streak, a 10-game losing streak. It doesn't matter. It's Kyrie. The two bigger issues here, long term, are what is his availability once the playoffs start, and then secondly, this roster still is very top-heavy, and they are missing a bigger wing defender like a PJ Tucker, like a Jay Crowder, like a Mikal Bridges. They're sixth right now in defense, but they're 25th in defensive rebounding. Steve Nash talked for 5 minutes about this after their loss last night. They still need a bigger wing defender long term.
What was interesting to me last season, JJ, is when you were watching in the regular season, their defense was, I think, 24th or something, in the 20s in the league, right? And then in the playoffs, it went up into the top 5.
Veterans
and
do
the
that.
veterans stepped up.
Yeah.
That's when they made the impact. But that's also when they could potentially be missing Kyrie for some of those key games. And so how is that dynamic going to play out? But Matt, you mentioned this. There's been so much scrutiny on Kyrie Irving, right? And so much discussion about what is right, what is wrong here. I almost think some folks maybe forgot just how good Kyrie Irving is, if that's possible. JJ, thank you so much for joining us, because I got get into this monitor some of the top from Kyrie Irving's all-star.
Oh, look, Kyrie, is he the first person with a solo edition?
No, we've done a Steph
Okay, well, just don't ruin the fun, okay?
You're wrong, and I couldn't take away an opportunity to remind you of that. All right, top debut. Kyrie made his Nets debut on October 23rd, 2019. I was in the building. He put on a show. You remember what he did? He had 50 points in that game. He was the 5th player in league history to record that in a season opener.
Look at Kyrie, but this is what people don't understand. Kyrie hits you on all different levels. He's a 50, 40, 90 guy. Hit one of the biggest shots in the NBA history when he's in his 20s. There is nothing that you can't say. His resume is complete. The only thing they want is more. They want more of Kyrie. They want more championships. And that's why he put together this team in Brooklyn to compete for a championship. So I know they're happy to have him back.
Well, we also have a top performance. It was a regular season game in San Antonio, but there was nothing regular about this performance. Career high, and the Cavs franchise record, 57 points for Irving.
Yeah, well, look, Kyrie, we know this, that when he gets going, there's nothing that he can do. We talked about Ja Morant. Ja Morant, Matt said, is like a kind of a younger Kyrie. He's got the left hand, he's got the right hand, he's got the English. And Kyrie's athleticism is one of the most underrated parts of his game. Not from a dunk standpoint, but from a body control standpoint, it is next level.
And I think you could say what you want about Kyrie as the person off the court, but there's no denying his talent. He's going to go down as one of the greatest point guards ever to play skill-wise. Like Richard said, his resume is already what it is. And again, he brought his 2 friends in to win more. And if they can get on the same page, there's no reason why they can't.
Yeah.
Well, top all-star moment, because he put on another show.
Yeah.
Second
What he
career
does.
All-Star appearance. He went off 31 points, 14 dimes, secured the MVP trophy. I mean, Matt.
What can you do? I mean, his game is like he's playing. That's a regular move he would make in a regular season game. He makes all-star moves on a nightly basis. One of the best under the basket finishers. Learn that from Rod Strickland, his Godfather.
Godfather.
Excuse me. Thank you. Just Kyrie is special. And again, I think this is the first time we talked about it, barring injury, that the game was taken away from him. So I think he's coming back with a new hunger and a new appreciation, prioritizing basketball. Like I said, it's only going to get sticky when the playoffs hit.
Yeah, very sticky because, look, it is not done. It is not done. You got Milwaukee. You got some high-level teams that, like, if you're not at 100%,
Absolutely.
he's got to be there, locked in.
Richard, I'm just going to let you take it away.
Ladies and gentlemen, the greatest shot in NBA history, Kyrie Irving. He hit it over the two-time MVP, the 73-win team, and you're down 3-1 in a Game 7 tie score. That is the greatest shot in NBA history, people.
I feel like there's some bias with all.
Maybe a little bit of bias.
Like you might have been on that.
Maybe a
team or
little bit of
something.
bias. Maybe a little bit
But
of
anyway,
bias.
I mean, absolutely right. Everything you said. Absolutely.
Yeah,
right.
maybe a little bit of bias, but one of the most impressive, maybe top 2 or 3. I'm
What
saying
was
number 1.
in that moment, do you remember, can you just describe that feeling?
No, we're on television.
The host of All the Smoke podcast, and then there's that guy, Richard Jefferson, who is an NBA champ. Zach Lowe and JJ Redick are also going to join us shortly, but we have to start, guys, with the game of the night. You know where that was, Richard?
Brooklyn.
Let's take a look because Ja Morant and the Grizzlies, they were in Brooklyn visiting Kevin Durant and the Nets. We even had, fixing the hair, getting all ready. We had some special guests courtside, Antonio Brown checking out the action.
He's not well.
Let's get to the game. So it started out all right for Brooklyn.
Yeah, Kevin Durant doing what Kevin Durant does, just D'ing up in transition, and then James Harden.
He's coming into form a little
He
bit.
is slowly starting to get into shape, but look, everything starts on the defensive end with the big fella. Look at KD with the block again.
Absolutely, but then it was all Memphis all night long. And it takes some cojones to hit
Matt,
that
if
shot.
he starts knocking down that shot,
Nothing you can do.
There's nothing you can do.
Nothing you can do.
Because he's got all of this left, right, in and out.
He might be
Look at
right up
that.
there with Kyrie as far as versatility with both hands.
And he's young, too.
Yeah.
That means that there's a room for that growth.
Yeah.
Well, Kendrick Perkins was tooting the horn for him for MVP this morning, especially when he's doing that. I need to see that again.
Let's calm down with the MVP talk, but God,
How long was he in the air?
he had more room, too.
That's a great
My
poster.
goodness. More Ja all night in Barclays Center.
Yeah, he's working that pick and roll, kind of like how Chris Paul does, gets to his spots, but he's got that athleticism.
He'll
to
dunk
finish
on you
around.
once he gets
He'll
to the
dunk on
basket,
you.
though.
That's the difference.
The Nets made a little bit of a run, but the Grizzlies win. Here are the Grizzlies after the game.
Ja, he's a crazy talent.
You see him blossoming in front of our eyes.
When he's playing like that, the urgency that everyone else is playing with, he's a driving force for us.
Durant pushes, gets by Durant to the rim. Jams with the right hand. Oh, get out of the way.
Since college, he's been on this trajectory, as a basketball fan, you can't wait to see what his life year is going forward.
People are debating whether or not he should be an all-star. I mean, I think we should be debating whether or not he's the best point guard in the league.
I'm a very humble guy, but I'm also confident. I'm going to let my teammates and them to continue to talk for me. I'm going to just go out there and do what I can on the floor to help prove their case right even more.
All right, so we just heard Ja's teammate Desmond Bane call him the best point guard in the league. So, Matt, where does he rank for you?
I'm not mad at that. He's in that next wave of point guards. I think right now we still have Steph, Dame, Kyrie, CP. I think he's in that next wave with Luka, Trey, LaMelo Ball, but I would put him right at the top of that next wave. So he looks at all these older guys as lunch every night, and they know they're going to have a long night when they got to face someone like Ja Morant. But he's next in line with these guys. But, I mean, incredible talent.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and he has absolutely no fear. The tough thing about positionless basketball is now it's like, who the hell is the point guard? Right? If you're talking about a traditional point guard, yeah, Ja is right there. But you got to include Steph. You got to include guys like Luka that has the ball. Even James Harden, who has been playing point guard the last couple of years. We forget he was an MVP candidate last year towards the end before he got hurt. So is he in that next tier? 100%. Could he be the best point guard by the end of the season or in the next year or so? I could see that without a doubt. And I feel MVP's coming in his future.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
MVP's coming in his future. Is All-Star coming now, Matt?
It should, but sometimes, he still has respect to the players because it could just just be a numbers thing, with the All-Star. It's tricky how guys get on. He's played his way into his first All-Star appearance, but if he doesn't, he has the respect around the league. They know he's one of the best in the game.
And there's no disrespect to guys like Damian Lillard, but Ja has had a better season than Dame has. But there's a high probability that Dame will get voted in over him.
You put a little roll on it. Ja. You put a little roll on that. All right.
Did you see his game? You see his game? Man, I was down. But listen, we don't need to talk about my vacation, man.
Yeah, well, no, we do not need to talk about that. You mentioned him, though, Trae Young, so let's get to his big night because he scored 56 points to go along with 14 assists. That was against the Trailblazers, but unfortunately, it came in a loss despite the fact that the Blazers were without two of their top players. That's Damian Lillard and C.J. McCollum. And get this, guys, the 56, that marked Trae's career high and the most points that any player has scored in a game this season. And Trae has scored or assisted on 86 points. Wow. So that was tied for the most by any player in a loss over the last 25 seasons. So a little bit of the good, well, a lot of the good come with a little bit of the bad. I do want to bring in JJ Redick from New York and senior writer Zach Lowe here. So JJ, I do want to start with you. How frustrated do you think Trae Young should be with a loss like that following a career high performance?
Oh, he should be very frustrated. He's having as good of a season as he's had in the NBA. His efficiency numbers are great. He's second in the league in scoring, third in assist. But here's the problem. The Hawks stink defensively, and their margin for error night to night is very slim. They've got the second best offense in the league. They've got the fourth worst defense. To win with Trae Young, he's proven he can play on a finals contending team last year. To win with Trae Young, you just need an average defense, and they don't have that right now. He's so good offensively. He creates so many opportunities offensively. That, to me, is where if they make just a marginal improvement defensively in the second half of the season, they're going to have a chance in the East to make another run.
But, Zach, this Hawks team was in the conference finals last season. So what changed for them?
JJ just nailed it. They forgot kind of what drove them to the conference finals. Trae Young and dunking and alley-oops, that's all the sexy stuff. Under Nate McMillan, they became an average to above average defensive team. And as JJ said, they're 27th. You're not going anywhere serious when you're 27th. They might be the worst transition defense team in the league. And in fairness to them, last night they're missing John Collins, DeAndre Hunter, Cam Reddish, Bogdan Bogdanovic. So they haven't had their whole team for a lot of the year. Hunter's their best perimeter defender. And teams are shooting well from like everywhere on the floor against them. So maybe they're getting a little unlucky. Clint Capella, not the same player so far this season after recovering from an Achilles injury, a soreness of an Achilles last season. He was huge last year. The bottom line is this team has got to be better defensively if they're going to go anywhere serious.
Well, yeah, the health and safety protocols have hit them a little bit hard. Hey, Richard, I guess you want to jump in here. So for the Hawks, I mean, last season, I was on the sidelines for some of those conference finals games, and watching their run against the 76ers, they just seemed like a team that was possessed. So were the Hawks ahead of schedule, do you think, in some ways last season?
I think they are ahead. I think they were ahead of schedule. And I think if you look at the way they finished the season last year, but I'll say this. Trae Young and the formula around him, to me, reminds me of Allen Iverson. Allen Iverson couldn't guard anybody. And AI, you're a legend. What I'm more saying is that when you look at the most successful team that AI ever had around him, it was Dikembe Mutombo. It was Eric Snow. It was Aaron McKee. They just surrounded him with defenders. Because if you get a bunch of defenders that gives you 10, 12 points a night, but they defend at a high level, then you know that no one can guard Trae. You know that no one can guard AI. So to me, they do need more defenders. Even in an era of high-powered offense, the Warriors have a high-powered offense, but they have a high-level defense. They have a high-level defense. So to me, they need a lot more defenders than just one or maybe two. They should surround him with that.
Well, Matt has been making faces and formulating his point for a while now. What you got here, Matt?
No, I mean, I agree with everyone. Obviously, defense is going to be the key. They have a very high-powered offense. Trae is incredible. And I understand his frustration, but at the same time, if anyone between these two teams that just played should be frustrated, it was a guy who wasn't playing. It's Dame Lillard. Yeah. Portland has not got that team better yet. I want to say they're 12th in the West, under 500, and Dame is wasting so many good years there. So I understand Dame's frustration. I understand Trae's frustration. He's a young guy. He's got a lot more basketball ahead of him. Dame has had this frustration for a long time, putting up 50-point games and taking L's. So Portland's GM and Portland's front office need to do something for Dame. But again, defense is what's going to help Atlanta get to that next level, and there's still time to improve that.
Well, when I sat down with Trey at the end of last season, he told me I'm not going to be satisfied until we bring a championship to Atlanta, and I'm sure Damian Lillard feels the same way. There is something, though, from last night's game on the winning side that I did want to highlight from the Blazers, because guard Anthony Simons, he scored a